I just want to start with saying good afternoon to everyone in the Star 94 family and express that our hearts are with the families, friends, and community affected by the tragic events at Robb Elementary School in Texas. Today, we are joined by a safety and security expert, Joshua Sullivan, CEO of Discreet Security Services. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you and, really touch base on some safety and security tips and tools that people like you and me can kind of make ourselves a little bit more aware when we're in a large public space, but also teachers and school administrators can potentially do in the school building to keep, school safe and a safe haven for knowledge and people's safeties.
Absolutely.
So I do want to kind of just jump in a little bit and share with the Star 94 family a little bit about you. You do have a heart for civil servantry. You've been a firefighter, EMT, you've done some police work. So you've really kind of been hands in with dealing with people and being there for people during serious moments. So this guy is A1, super legit. We've got a great person here with us today. And I want to go ahead and just ask you, what are some tips that people can kind of keep in the back of their mind, everyday tips for maybe when they're in a shopping mall or a movie theater or even in a school building, and maybe they're getting that gut feeling that something doesn't seem quite right, or that they can be on the lookout for when something is starting to feel a little awry?
Absolutely. It's a great question. First off, thank you for having me again. So what we look for and what we teach is a security mindset, and having a security mindset all the time is one of the first and most effective ways to make sure something bad doesn't happen. I think back in our Alive Active Shooter Survival Training course that I'm the master instructor of, based out of LA, the founder, Michael Julian. One of the things that we teach is we use a clip from the old Jason Bourne movie. So I don't know if you remember that movie or not, like the original Jason Bourne, but they're sitting in a restaurant and he says, well, I can tell you that the license plate numbers of the 6 cars outside the window. I can tell you how many exits. I can tell you the waitress at the counter is left-handed, right? So that's an extreme example. But just having that situational awareness and a security mindset where you're looking for things and being proactive everywhere you go. And it takes about 20 seconds, if that, just to kind of look around your surroundings and say, okay, is my intuition telling me that there's something wrong, or is it okay? Do I see something threatening, or does it look pretty chill? And that by itself already starts to increase your survivability chances if something were to happen.
Absolutely. I know my husband thinks I'm totally like out there for doing that. He's like, why do you look around whenever we go somewhere? I'm like, you just never know. You want to be safe
Absolutely.
rather than sorry. And I think that's such a great reference. I actually watched that movie a couple weeks back. So that's such a great reference of saying, like, it's like just being aware of your surroundings. What would you say to get people to start putting these into practice? Because of course, a lot of people say, oh, it's easier said than done, but how do you start practicing teaching your mind to be aware? How do you help people to become aware like this?
So our founder of Alive, he coined a term proactive reactionism, and it sounds kind of funny to say, but everywhere you go, if you just take that step that we just talked about, and you're proactively looking at how you're going to react to something, that's already got the ball rolling, right? 20 plus years in public safety has taught me one thing, and it's that when you have training, it'll kick in, and when things are going south, when the adrenaline's pumping, when everything's going on, if you have that baseline training, that's what you're going to fall back to automatically. So for instance, on a paramedic unit, we carry AEDs. And if we get to someone that's not breathing, we put that AED on them. We don't have to think about what we're doing because it becomes second nature when you do it so often because you practice it and you have that training. We look at active shooter survival the same way. Any active threat, if you go through the steps on a daily basis everywhere you go, it sets you up to where you're able to fall back on that when it's time to actually do it. Unfortunately, in today's world where it's ever more increasing.
I want to ask you, because I think a lot of people tend to have questions in regards to how do these dangerous situations come about? What kind of pushes an individual to this extreme reaction? How does this happen?
Well, so one of the things we teach is there's 3 categories that every active shooter fits into, or active threat, whether it's a knife, firearm, whatever. There's three categories, and that's anger or revenge, mental illness, or ideological, right? So ideological, when we think about that, is when we're thinking about a racist or a terrorist because they have a religious belief, or something of that nature, an association that they're with. Where, something like the Texas shooting, what we're starting to find is that it was a little bit of mental illness as well as anger and revenge, based on some of the stuff coming out about him. They all fall in one of those categories, if not multiple at the same time. So normally, right, I'd say 95% of the time there are signs that something's about to happen. As more and more come out about the Texas shooting, he was messaging people. He was messaging teenage girls that, hey, I'm about to go do this, right? So there's always signs, and it's just a matter of somebody picking them up in time to actually be able to change them or not. So I mean, evil is evil, right? And the only thing that we can do is try to prevent evil from happening. But evil still happens, right? Criminals are bad guys. Criminals don't follow the law. The gun control laws that are in place, whether we add to them, take away from them, whatever the case may be, unfortunately, we have to remember that criminals don't follow the law. That's what makes them a criminal in the first place. So it's one of those things where we just have to prepare ourselves and our families, and we can only be responsible for ourselves, because I think more than ever, it's apparent that the government can only do so much, right? It comes down to our individual responsibility of being trained in how to handle ourselves and increase our survivability.
What would you say are things you've picked up being in your industry as long as you have, or products you've tried yourself that definitely would keep the classroom and the school building more safe, whether it's the teacher personally buying something that's like I've seen sometimes those like Amazon videos or those videos on Facebook where it's like they have that like bar across the door. What's something people can do or teachers can do as individuals to kind of keep the classroom safe or keep the school building safe?
Absolutely. So the I in Alive is for impede. So if somebody can't leave because it's going to put them in more danger, what we teach is people to start locking and blocking. Like, that's the first step, right? So if you're in a room, like a classroom, for instance, we teach lock and block. So you lock the door if you can, and then you start putting stuff up against the door. And there are a lot of third party products that bring in an additional locking mechanism, whether it's from the ground, and it's metal that actually goes half in the ground, half in front of the door, which makes it pretty hard to open, or whether it's a bar across the door, anything like that, or putting up desks and the teacher's desk and chairs, and you're just stacking stuff in front. That always helps. The other thing is a close friend of mine and colleague that owns BodyArmorUSA.com. They sell ballistic backpacks. They sell inserts that go into normal backpacks that are ballistic. And it's something that just adds to that protective factor. They also sell something called a multi-level or multi-threat shield. And basically it looks like a computer bag. And when you unzip it, it comes into a 3-foot long panel, basically, that you can put in front of yourself, or at a school, you can actually hang it up. Because I don't know about most schools around the country, but the ones I've been to, they always have that window, right? That window that you can kind of see in and see if class is in session. And that's a threat, right? Anyone can break that window, put their gun through, and shoot, unfortunately. So one of the things this helps do is that if you hang that there, it becomes ballistic protected from the window as well. So there's just a lot of different things like that, backpacks, inserts for backpacks, and all that definitely increase your survivability with the training to go along with it.
I think we covered the A, L, and I. What is the V and E in Alive?
Absolutely. Yeah. So assess, leave if you can, impede. And then for V is at some point, it could very well come down to it's you or me, right? You being the shooter, me being the potential victim. And unfortunately, in today's world, we really have to look at that as our only chance, possibly, right? There's no way to impede this person at this point. We know we're going to have to come face to face with them. And an active shooter is intent on killing as many people in the shortest amount of time possible, right? So they want to find someone that's an easy target. So if you get yourself ready, V is for violence. And you have to be able to have that mindset of, I'm going home to my family if I have to face this person, and I'm going to end this now. We teach different methods of swarming. If there's multiple people, we teach, throw something at the person's eyes, because the automatic reaction on anybody, if someone throws something at their eyes, is to put their hands up to block their eyes. So if they have a weapon, if they have something in their hand, it gives you that extra second to maybe rush them and try to get them on the ground. And then hopefully other people, if they're available, will come over and help you try to control them or disarm them or harm them. At the end of the day, violence is what's needed to stop one of these acts. And then E is exposed, which I personally find is one of the more important parts of it. For so long we hear run, hide, fight, right? So people automatically start running or they start hiding, which is not the safest thing to do all the time. But then when they see a police officer, they pop up thinking that they're safe and they go running towards the police officer. And the police officer's only job at that point is to find the threat and neutralize it. So when one person pops up, when there's a whole classroom of people laying down or an office of people laying down, that person kind of looks like a threat coming at that officer pretty quick, and they have to make a very, very quick determination of what they're going to do with it. So E is for exposed, and it's just the proper way and the careful way of doing it. When you get up, you have your hands open and your arms spread all the way up. If you're not sure, there was a shooting a couple months ago in the Midwest at a high school, and a video went viral because the guy knocked on the door and said, "Hey, it's the police, it's the sheriff department, you can come on out." And they were like, "Yeah, we don't feel comfortable with that yet. We're going to wait until we can call 911 and find out what's going on." And whoever was at the door was like, "Come on, bro. I told you it's safe. Come out." And they're like, "Red flag, red flag." So things like that, where knowing when to come out, not to fall for a trick where the victim's trying to, or the suspect's trying to lure people out to do more harm. That's a really important part. Even if you have to get on 911 and call and talk to the dispatcher and say, "Hey, I'm in this classroom. There's somebody outside saying they're a cop. Can you verify that?" Because if they say, "Hey, that's not a cop, don't answer the door," it does two things. The law enforcement officers know where they are in the building, and it gives you a chance to maybe jump out the window or make sure that you're in a safer position. So it's just a combination of going through all those steps quickly, which it doesn't take long, is definitely increasing in your chances of survival.
Absolutely. How can people continue to learn and educate themselves on this unfortunate topic of staying safe outside, staying safe in the school, staying safe in a public area? What can they do to kind of stay vigilant and aware of what's going on?
Absolutely. So the Alive Active Shooter Survival Program is available online, virtually, or in person. We have instructors across the nation, and we even have some in other countries. But if you contact us directly at www.dssimd.com, there's a whole Alive Active Shooter page, and you can buy online courses. You can contact us. We travel across the world to teach these courses, and we just want everybody to be as safe as possible and have this life-saving training. Absolutely.
Joshua, how can people stay up to date with you and what you've got going on?
Absolutely. So the same way, www.dssimd.com. At the very bottom of our homepage is all of our social media links. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website and follow up. We do a lot of promotions where we're just trying to get people trained, whether it's for free or highly discounted. If you guys have any questions about the backpacks or the panels that we were talking about, we can get you in touch with Ben over at Body Armor USA. Yeah, we would love to talk to you and help train everybody that needs it.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join me. It's been such a pleasure being able to speak with you and get a little bit more educated on this topic and answer questions people might have for their own personal safety. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And you stay safe out there.
Take care.